I love to always see these big smiles on your faces. You're always excited to be here on Sunday, right? Just a few more coming. How are you today? You good? You have a good night's sleep? Because that's important, you know. Good night's sleep is always important. You have a good breakfast? Oh, good. So there's two words that I have in my mind right now, and I'm wondering if any of you can help me to understand these words. The first word is fascination. Have you ever heard the word fascination? Do you know what it means? What does it mean? Go ahead.
To be curious about something.
To be curious about something. Even sometimes to be a little bit more than curious, right? Like it really captures your attention and you pay a lot of attention to it, right? So that's a pretty good answer. What about the word awe? A-W-E. You know what the word awe means? Well, surprise. I could go with the word surprise. A little bit more?
Amazed.
Amazed. So that's getting, it's like not just a surprise, but it's something that's like you're amazed by it. Now, have you ever been fascinated with something? Have you ever been fascinated with something where you could just keep thinking about it and keep thinking about it and wondering about it? And have you ever been fascinated by something? Ooh, many miracles in the church. Well, you just jumped like 50 steps ahead of my homily. You finished it for me, thanks. I was thinking of something else. When I was about your age, one of the things that I was fascinated by were magicians. You ever go to a magic show? You ever watch the magician? They do all sorts of things, like they'll hold a coin and then suddenly the coin disappears and then they pull it out of somebody's ear. You ever see them do that? You ever watch that? Isn't that fascinating that they can do that? And when I was a kid, I was so fascinated by it that I wanted to learn how they did it. So I went and found out one of the things that they like to do is they like to trick you. I know it's hard to believe, but they're actually tricking you. The coin never really disappeared, did it? No, it didn't like all of a sudden get inside somebody's ear, did it? But that fascinated me, and that fascination is so important because it was something that taught me that, well, there are a lot of things that are pretty impressive. Things that we do all the time. But I was also in awe because there was this one magician who really, really was good and could make you think that he could break out of like anything. And so he was betting his life trying to do all of these fascinating stunts. And as a kid, I just couldn't stop thinking about it because it was just so cool to watch and to see him do these things. Now I want to ask you, we listened to today's gospel. So in today's gospel, what was Jesus up to? What was he doing? What was he doing today? You said it kind of already. Healing the sick. He was doing miracles, right? He was like casting out demons. He was like going up to people and go, "Be healed!" And all of a sudden the people were healed. Like Simon's mother-in-law was laying in bed with a fever. Isn't that fascinating? You think about it? Like, have you ever been sick? You ever been sick and you had to stay in bed? It's not fun, is it? Nope, nobody likes to be sick. And so Simon Peter's mother-in-law was sick, but Jesus made her feel better right away. Isn't that fascinating? I'm in awe of that, to know that someone who was really ill is suddenly okay. Why would Jesus do that? Why do you think Jesus was doing that? Any idea why Jesus would like heal people like that? Why was he doing it?
He wanted to help out.
Well, he really wanted to be helpful. He really wanted, and he knew that like Simon's mother-in-law was being sick and she could help around the house. And what does she do right away? She starts to help with all the things around the house. But you think that was the last time Simon Peter's mother-in-law ever got sick? No, probably not. She probably got sick again. So he healed her, and that's a good thing, but it wasn't permanent. Think about that for a second. So what is Jesus really up to? What is Jesus really doing when he does these miracles? Think about that for a second. What is Jesus really doing, and why is he doing these miracles? Why do you think?
Showing himself to the world.
Give me some pound on that one. He's showing himself to the world. He's like saying, here I am. So he's letting the whole, now back then they didn't have like social media, so he couldn't put it on Instagram or TikTok or something. So he had to get attention some other way, right? And what does he do? Well, he starts doing these miracles. And what happened after the first few miracles? What happened? What happened? It tells you right in the gospel. What happened?
People started coming to him.
A lot of people started coming to him, right? All of a sudden, the whole town was coming out.
They wanted him to heal.
And what did he do? They want, like, you're not feeling good. Let me take you to Jesus because Jesus can heal you. We just heard these great stories about how he did it for other people. Now he can do it for you. And so they're all there. But what does Jesus do? What does Jesus do at the end of the gospel especially? What does he do? And he gives us the secret.
He goes and prays and tells
He went off and prayed. Now he's getting all this attention and he goes and disappears. He just goes and disappears off into the hill country and goes away because he wanted to get attention. But what does he want us to pay attention to? He tells us. What does he really want us to pay attention to? What do you think? What does Jesus really want you to be paying attention to? He kind of mentions it in the gospel. Did you hear what he said? He wants to, okay, go ahead. He wants you to pray. So he's leading by example, right? He did the example by going to pray, but he wants us to be paying attention to something else. So unlike the magician who wants you to look at this hand while this hand is hiding something, Jesus is saying, no, I want you to look at this hand. Stop looking at this one. What is it that Jesus wants us to look at? What is it that he really wants us to look at? Because he kind of says it.
He wants us to look at basically ourselves.
He wants us to look at ourselves. But what was the very first thing he said in Mark's gospel just a couple of weeks ago? He had a what? He had a message for us, didn't he? What's his message? What's his message? Do you remember? Everybody is looking for Jesus, aren't they? Everybody is searching for Jesus. Why? Not because of the miracles. The miracles are fascinating, don't get me wrong. If I could walk up to a person in a wheelchair and go, be healed, and they get out of the wheelchair and start walking, that's great. But that's not the message, is it? No, the message, he started out with two things. Change your lives, get ready, kind of like St. John the Baptist, because the kingdom is at hand. The kingdom of God is at hand. And so what does he want us to be doing? He wants us to be getting ready to go into the kingdom. He wants us to be preparing our lives and getting our lives straight, right? What is it that we're all searching for? Every one of us is searching for the same thing. We might be fascinated by something, we might be in awe of something, but we're all searching for the same thing. We're all searching for the same thing. One word. One word. I'll give you a hint. It begins with a P. We're all searching for the same thing. One word. Peace. Yes. Peace. Every human being wants to have peace in their lives, don't they? You don't want to have conflict and you don't want to have problems, and you want peace. And that's why during Lent, we're going to try to help people find some peace in their lives. We're going to pray for that a little bit more, because Jesus' message is not just one of fascination, it's one of living and how to live with each other and how to live in peace. And so today's a great day to do me a favor. Start today. When you look around and you see something that looks disturbed, or somebody that's upset, or somebody that's not so happy, try to bring a little peace to them by being kind and praying with them and helping them. It goes a long way, doesn't it? So do me a favor, why don't you go back, start that now. Go give a hug or a kiss to whoever you came here with, and go tell them how much you love them, because that's important. They all get big so quickly, don't they? One of the things, moms and dads, and this is something that I always will go back to again and again, your heart is looking for something, and you know that. You know that your heart is looking for something, but a lot of times we get confused because we've got those people out there waving the shiny thing that's getting our attention. Oh, that'll finally be what settles me. So it's like a new car. If I just got a new car, or a bigger house, or if I just got a better job, or I made more money, and every time you get there, it didn't satisfy. And I've learned this in my own life. What really does satisfy is a life with Jesus Christ, a love of Jesus Christ. What does he say later in the gospel? He says, I am peace. And if you really want to start settling some of the conflict and the division and the problems, we've got to bring it to Jesus. And so we've got to work with children, especially today, I think even more than ever, that it's not just conflict resolution, it's getting to Jesus so that we can find the peace that we all need. And so you're searching. That's good. Do what Jesus does. Go and pray about it. Because I'm sure at that point he was starting to get a little confused himself, because all of a sudden, like, they're not paying attention to my message anymore. And maybe I need to go do something. So what does he say? No, I got to go off and preach. And St. Paul said the exact same thing in his letter to the Corinthians. I'm not doing this for profit. I'm not doing this for glory and for glamour. I'm doing this free of charge because I want to share in the gospel, in the good news of hope, the good news of reconciliation, the good news of peace. And so next week we're going to wrap up this series on Everyone is Searching. Today we heard those very words. Lord, everyone's searching for you. They're all looking for you. And like a good preacher, he says, well, I'm going to keep this message going and I'm going to bring it to other places because I need everybody to hear it. So like the disciples, search for Jesus and go with him. Bring the message with you. Share the message, especially in your homes and among your family. For that is really, I believe, where we need to start. If we don't start in our homes, it's a lost cause. But when we have it within our own families and within our homes, the prayer and the reconciliation, it then can spread throughout the entire world. And so be today what it is you're looking for. Be peace for one another. Be joy for one another. Be hope for one another. But most especially, give yourselves completely to Jesus Christ, who will make all of that possible every day, every moment. God bless you.